For over 3 centuries, the Philippines was under the Spanish crown, a period marked by both cultural fusion and relentless oppression. But the spirit of the Filipino people was never truly broken. This is the story of the colonial chains and the brave uprisings that continuously shook the foundations of Spanish dominance. Before we dive into the bloody battles and heroic figures, let's set the stage. Spain's arrival in 1521, led by Ferdinand Magellan, kicked off a long and complex chapter in Philippine history. The Spanish established a colonial government, imposed their religion, and exploited the island's resources. This system was built on forced labor, or the pulo y servicios, and the collection of tributes, or the bandola system. The Spanish friars, while spreading Christianity, also became powerful landlords, controlling vast estates. For the average Filipino, life was a daily struggle against injustice, poverty, and the loss of their ancestral lands and way of life. It was a pressure cooker, and it was only a matter of time before it exploded. The resistance began almost immediately. One of the earliest and most famous acts of defiance was by Lapu-Lapu, the chieftain of Mactan, who defeated Magellan in 1521. This was a powerful symbol that the islands would not be conquered easily. While Spain eventually succeeded in establishing its rule, the resistance never died. It just took different forms. Throughout the 17th and 18th centuries, over 100 revolts erupted across the archipelago. These were often localized, sparked by specific grievances. Take the Daguhoy Rebellion in Bohol, for instance. Lasting an incredible 85 years, from 1744 to 1829, it's one of the longest rebellions in world history. It started with a personal injustice. Francisco Daguhoy's brother, a constable, died while chasing a fugitive. A Jesuit priest refused to give him a Christian burial, claiming he had died in a duel. Enraged, Daguhoy rallied his fellow Boholanos. What started as a personal quest for justice turned into a full-blown independence movement. Daguhoy established a free government in the mountains of Bohol, which thousands of people joined. For 85 years, they lived independently, resisting every attempt by the Spanish to crush them. The rebellion outlived Daguhoy himself and only ended after 20 Spanish governors-general had tried and failed to quell it. It showed the world the incredible resilience and determination of the Filipino people. Then there was the Silang Revolt in the Ilocos region. In 1762, during the British occupation of Manila, a charismatic Ilocano named Diego Silang saw an opportunity. He demanded the abolition of the tribute and started a rebellion against the Spanish authorities. He was so successful that he declared himself the leader of a free Ilocos. His wife, Gabriela Silang, fought alongside him, a true warrior partner. Tragically, Diego was assassinated by his own friends, who were paid by the Spanish. But did the fight end there? No. Gabriela took over. She became the first female leader of a Filipino revolt, earning the title Joan of Arc of the Ilocos. She led her troops with incredible courage, but was eventually captured and executed. Her bravery, however, became a legendary inspiration for future generations of Filipino freedom fighters. These are just a couple of examples. There were the Tamblet and Bangko revolts, driven by a desire to return to native religions. There was the Agrarian Revolt of 1745, where thousands of farmers in provinces around Manila rose up against the friars who had seized their lands. Each uprising, whether it succeeded or failed, was a crack in the armor of the Spanish Empire. They were fueled by a deep-seated desire for freedom, justice, and the preservation of their identity. As the 19th century dawned, the nature of the resistance began to change. The opening of the Philippines to world trade and the rise of a new, educated class of Filipinos, the Ilustrados, brought new ideas of nationalism and liberty. People like José Rizal, Marcelo H. Del Pilar, and Graciano López Gina used the power of the pen, not the sword. Through their writings, they exposed the cancers of Spanish colonial society and awakened a national consciousness. This propaganda movement, as it was called, laid the intellectual groundwork for a true national revolution. Rizal's novels, Noli Me Tangere and El Filibusterismo, were particularly explosive. They depicted the abuses of the friars and the colonial government so vividly that they were banned by the Spanish. But a ban only made people want to read them more. The books were smuggled into the country and read in secret, fanning the flames of discontent. Rizal never advocated for violent revolution, he believed in reform. But his execution in 1896 for sedition was the final straw for many Filipinos. It was a tragic irony. The death of a man who preached peace ultimately convinced the people that armed struggle was the only path left. Just a few months before Rizal's death, a secret society had been formed in the shadows of Manila. It was called the Katipunan, or KKK, led by a warehouseman named Andres Bonifacio. Unlike the Ilustrados, Bonifacio believed that independence could only be won through a violent uprising. The Katipunan grew rapidly, recruiting thousands of members from the masses. Their goal was simple: complete separation from Spain. In August 1896, the Katipunan was discovered by the Spanish authorities. Bonifacio and his followers had to act fast. They gathered in Puget Loin, tore up their cedulas, their community tax certificates that symbolized their vassalage to Spain, and cried, "Long live the Philippines!" This was the cry of Puget Loin, the beginning of the Philippine Revolution. The revolution spread like wildfire across the islands. Filipino forces, often armed with little more than bolos and homemade guns, fought with incredible bravery against the well-equipped Spanish army. Leaders like Emilio Aguinaldo emerged, winning significant victories in Cavite. The revolution was a bloody, brutal affair, but for the first time, Filipinos from different regions were fighting together under one flag, for one nation. The revolution had its internal struggles, including a tragic power rift between Bonifacio and Aguinaldo that led to Bonifacio's execution. But despite these challenges, the revolutionaries persevered. By 1898, they had cornered the Spanish in Manila and were on the verge of declaring a true, independent Philippine Republic. However, a new player entered the scene: the United States. The Spanish-American War spilled over into the Philippines. The Americans, under Commodore Dewey, destroyed the Spanish fleet in Manila Bay. Initially, the Filipinos saw the Americans as allies. Aguinaldo declared Philippine independence on June 12, 1898, believing the U.S. would honor it. But this alliance was a mirage. In the Treaty of Paris, Spain sold the Philippines to the United States for $20 million, completely ignoring the newly established Philippine Republic. The colonial chains were not broken, they were simply passed from one master to another. The Philippine Revolution morphed into the Philippine-American War, another long and bloody struggle for freedom. Looking back, the story of the Philippines under Spain is not just a tale of oppression. It is a testament to the enduring human spirit. From Lapu-Lapu's defiance to Daguhoy's 85-year republic, from Gabriela Silon's leadership to the ultimate national revolution sparked by Rizal and Bonifacio, the fight for freedom was a constant, burning fire. These uprisings, big and small, were the heartbeats of a nation refusing to die. They shook Spanish dominance to its core and laid the foundation for the Filipino identity we know today. They are a powerful reminder that even the longest chains can eventually be broken. Thank you for watching. If you found this journey through history inspiring, please hit the like button, subscribe to our channel, and ring the bell so you don't miss our next video. Let us know in the comments which part of this history resonated with you the most. See you next time.